Roe versus Wade, the most recognized case in the world, the one that established the constitutional protections for a woman's right to an abortion, is in serious jeopardy of being overturned by the Supreme Court. The info comes by way of a leaked draft of a Supreme Court opinion in the controversial case of Dobbs versus the Jackson Women's Health Organization, a case challenging Mississippi's ban on abortion after 15 months. So, what does this leaked opinion actually mean for abortion rights in the United States? Well, you're about to find out. I'm Joshua Roberts, attorney at law, and you are watching Lawyer Up. In today's episode, we're going to talk about this leaked opinion of the Supreme Court that purports to overturn the long-standing case of Roe versus Wade. We're going to start by going back and looking at the facts and the case of Roe versus Wade so that we understand the court's original rationale and what the decision actually entailed. Then we're going to look at the current case by and through this leaked opinion and discuss how it would change the landscape of abortion laws in the United States. Finally, we're going to talk about the significance of the leak itself. This is the first time something like this has happened in the history of the Supreme Court. If you enjoy the episode, if you learned something, hit that like button for me. If you got a question or a comment, put it in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed, smash that subscribe button for me. And you guys know it, I love it when you share my videos on social media. As most of you know, Lawyer Up has partnered with Webull, the online broker that allows you to buy or sell stocks or crypto or whatever you're into from your phone. Webull is free to join, it's free to use, there's no cost to buy or sell, so it's commission-free trading. Better yet, when you sign up, link a bank account and deposit as little as 1 cent, Webull will give you at least 2 free stocks worth at least $3 per share. So it's free money as well. If you'd like to join the over 2 million Webull traders, all you have to do is click on the link in the description below. Happy trading. So let's start the discussion with a brief look at the case of Roe versus Wade. Now, that case was decided in 1973, and it involved Jane Roe as the plaintiff. Now, that name was a pseudonym or a false name to protect the identity of the plaintiff. It was a play on the name Jane Doe that law enforcement uses to identify an unknown deceased female crime victim. Well, this individual was obviously still alive, so they used Jane Roe instead for the name. Now, today, we know that the plaintiff was actually a woman by the name of Norma McCorvey, but at the time, they used the name Jane Roe. The defendant in the case was Henry Wade. He was a prosecuting attorney in Dallas County, which is Dallas, Texas. At the time, abortion was illegal in Texas, and so if Jane Roe were to get one, Wade would be the individual who would prosecute her for that crime. Now, the case was decided in 1973, and if you recall, in the late 60s, early 70s, the civil rights movement was in full swing, with women's rights being one of the core topics. And at the time, abortion was illegal in most states, although some had started taking some action to legalize it. Anyway, the actual plaintiff, Norma McCorvey, was 22 years old and on her 3rd pregnancy. Her first child was adopted by her mother, Grandma. The second child was adopted by a third party, and then facing a 3rd pregnancy, she did not want to go through it and wanted to get an abortion. So she made the perfect representative plaintiff. So her lawyer sued Henry Wade, and the case quickly made its way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. And their argument was simple: that the Texas law that prohibited abortion violated the Constitution of the United States. Now, obviously, the Constitution does not contain an explicit right to get an abortion in the document. So the argument was that the Texas law violated the 14th Amendment that states that the government cannot deny life, liberty, or property without due process of law. and they latched onto the liberty component or the freedom component of that amendment. The court would ultimately agree in a 7-2 decision that the constitutional right to liberty in the 14th Amendment encompassed a right to privacy in certain instances, and a subset of that right to privacy was a woman's right to choose whether or not to have an abortion. And in so ruling, the court held that states could not prohibit abortions in the first trimester. The court did allow some regulation during the second trimester and allowed the states to retain the right to prohibit abortions in the third trimester, but it was a landmark decision for pro-choice activists. Since that time, opponents have attacked the decision by defunding abortion clinics, requiring parental consent and informed consent, which usually takes the form of counseling about adoption. But the core right to an abortion in the first trimester remained constitutionally protected. But now, there is a leaked document in the case of Dobbs versus the Jackson Women's Health Organization, which is a case challenging Mississippi's ban on abortion after 15 weeks. This case was argued before the Supreme Court in December of 2021, and this case may turn everything on its head. Now, the document, which is labeled, quote, first draft of the opinion of the court, is 98 pages long, and it has a date of February 10th of 2022. It is authored and signed by Justice Samuel Alito, a member of the court's 6-3 conservative majority, who was appointed by former President George W. Bush. Of relevance, the document states that, quote, Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, end quote, and that we hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled, referring to the 1992 case of Planned Parenthood versus Casey that affirmed Roe's finding of a constitutional right to abortion services. The opinion goes on to state that, quote, it is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives, opining that there is no constitutional right to abortion services, which would allow individual states to more heavily regulate or outright ban the procedure. And while there may be newer drafts of the opinion since February 10th, and most likely there are, the draft shows that 5 Supreme Court justices were signed on. That's Samuel Alito, the author, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. That's 5 of the 9, and all they need to overturn Roe, which in short means that the federal abortion protections would disappear and regulations around abortion rights would be left up to the individual states and the individual state legislators, who would pass laws to deal with the abortion issue in each state as they saw fit. The significance of the decision is that about half of these states are poised to make abortion illegal, except in very limited circumstances. So it is seen as a major blow to women's reproductive rights in this country, and it places greater significance on these legislators and the midterm elections coming up this fall. But remember, this is a draft opinion. It is possible during the finalization of an opinion for that vote alignment to change. So a formal ruling is only final when it is formally published by the court, which was not expected until late June or early July. Now, who knows? But the existing political divide of the court leads most scholars to believe that the decision to overturn Roe versus Wade is inevitable. And finally, let's talk about the leak itself. It is shocking. How could this happen? It has never happened before. As one pundit put it, this is the first major leak from the Supreme Court ever. Insiders report that less than 50 people have access to a draft of a Supreme Court decision before it is published. So they will find who leaked the draft if it was leaked and the opinion wasn't hacked from the outside. But if it was an inside job, that person will, of course, be fired and prosecuted. But then they will be championed by the pro-choice community, become a poster child for abortion rights, be on talk shows, get a book deal, and ultimately the story will play out in a movie. So whatever white-collar criminal sanctions they will suffer in the short term, the benefit of the celebrity of the act will probably supplant and outweigh in the end. So stay tuned on this one, as one of the most significant and well-known cases in U.S. legal history may be on life support. That is the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button for me. If you got something to say, put it in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the current legal actions in the country. And you guys know it. I love it when you share my videos on social media. That's all for now. I'm Joshua Roberts, attorney at law, and you've been watching Lawyer Up.
Send lawyers, guns, and money.